What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone is staying safe in this crazy world we're living in. I hope everyone remember to adjust their clocks ahead 1 hour, spring forward, and hopefully weather or warmer weather comes about. Because we had a pretty brutal winter this year. To everyone who has given a follow, taken time to listen, a like, or a comment, I really appreciate that. It really means a lot to me, like I say in every episode of the podcast. Today's episode is called Peace, something that Trump knows nothing about. Um, he ran a campaign on no new wars, but unfortunately, we're in a endless war with Iran. You know, like every Republican president pretty much has done is put us in a war in the Middle East. He said weapons of mass destruction. There were none. Um, they're calling about corruption and evil and time for a regime change in Iran, even though it's probably time for a regime change in the United States. But, people who throw stones live in glass houses and all that stuff, but whatever. Now, before anyone makes any assumptions or jumps to any conclusions, I do not support the Iranian government. I do believe they're dictators. They kill their own people. And it is time for a regime change there, but that is not up for us to debate or decide. That is up to the Iranian people. And we should not be interfering in other people's affairs. But, that's the United States for you. Mr. FIFA Peace Prize president, excuse me, has bombed several countries in 1 year, more so than almost any other president. I believe it's been Yemen, Somalia, Nigeria, Iraq, Venezuela, to name just a few. I could be missing a couple. And it seems to me, and it seems like it probably seems this way to most people, that the United States has become Israel's bitch, especially Netanyahu's bitch. We are complicit when they commit genocide in Gaza, and now we're involved in their war somehow or another. It doesn't benefit us at all, to be honest with you. I mean, and if you're going to go to war, at least be honest, say we want the oil. It's nothing about liberating the people of Iran whatsoever. Every time they try to do a regime change in the Middle East, it becomes a shit show. Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. And they assumed this was going to be an easy war, but as you know, Iran fights back. They're obliterating U.S. military bases and strategic targets in Israel and several other parts of the Middle East. But poor strategy, poor planning, piss poor president, it's a domino effect. And then makes it worse, and to me, is the moment you say anything about the Israeli government, the IDF, you're accused of being anti-Semitic. And to me, it doesn't seem like most people know what that term means, anti-Semitic. I took the time to look it up. It goes, anti-Semitism is prejudice against Jewish people based on religion, culture, or ethnicity. Notice that I did not say politics. You can support Jewish people and hate the Israeli government. They're not one and the same. Just like the MAGA movement and this administration is completely different than the American people. You can stand up and protest against the corruption of a government and still support the people of that country. I have nothing but love and respect for anyone that is Jewish. I know that if Jewish people had a hard time, especially with the Holocaust, and a lot of anti-Semitism that comes their way. But it does not mean that I have to support Netanyahu or the IDF. Completely separate. And then I know many are asking what happened to the $10 billion and the Board of Peace. They're too busy acting like timeshare owners, trying to carve up and slice up and sell off Gaza to the highest bidder. You have Jared Kushner, who has no political power whatsoever, making plans to sell it off and is treating it like a freaking seminar or for a timeshare, like I said. I don't know how he has the power or the authority other than his freaking douchebag stepfather or father-in-law, whatever. And then what makes matters worse is now Trump has his eyes set on Cuba. He purposely went after Venezuela, not for the drugs, because, that's not where drugs are mostly coming from. Drugs from Venezuela are usually going to Europe. But he did that to cut off the oil supply to Cuba. He is basically starving those people. They have to do blackouts to conserve energy. And it's not about what he calls a regime change or for a corrupt government in Cuba. It's to control the minerals and resources of Cuba in the port of Mariel, because that will become that coastline will become a vacation spot for rich Americans, because, kind of like how they did to Hawaii and what they're doing to Puerto Rico. It's just about colonizing and greed and, again, corruption, because, there's really no checks and balances right now in the United States. So he's pretty much getting away with it, whatever he wants. The bottom line is starting a war with Iran without congressional approval is an impeachable offense. It was illegal for what we did to Venezuela, capturing Maduro. You cannot kill your way to peace. And basically, what he is doing is just creating distractions, because that's what he likes to do. He wants to distract from his low poll numbers. He made Kristi Noem a sacrificial lamb, even though she was incompetent. It was not qualified to do her job. He wants to distract from the Epstein files. And everything he's doing is basically to try and save face, preserve power, try to gain more riches for himself. And this is not new to the United States. All this warmongering and bombing and killing. In the 250 years of the existence of the United States, we have only had 17 years of peace. I mean, really sit back and contemplate on that. 17 years out of 250 years of killing, of raping, of stealing, of colonizing, of forcing our way, our views on other people. We fought against England for their colonizing and their taxation. And now we've turned around and we're doing it to other people. So the colonized become the colonizers. And recently I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across D.L. Hughley. Now, I respect D.L. Hughley a lot. I think he's funny and I think he's insightful. He was talking about Proverbs 6:16 through 19. And it was discussing the 7 things that God detests. And I'll break it down for you. Arrogance, dishonesty, violence against the defenseless, premeditated evil, eagerness to do wrong, perjury, and creating division. If you sit back and you dissect all of those and you just really take the time to think about it, those characteristics describe America. It describes the MAGA movement. It describes his current administration, and most importantly, it describes Donald Trump. He is very arrogant. He likes to sow division. He lies. And he has no problem doing what's wrong. Very, very arrogant man. But you know what they say? Pride comes before the fall. And I believe this midterm elections are going to be the start of his fall. Just like in Star Wars, Darth Sidious assumed all this power before the rebellion rose up and struck against him and destroyed the empire. And this empire is on the verge of collapsing if we stay strong, if we rebel and fight against the evil. If we get out there and vote, in my opinion, the Democrats are most likely going to take the House and could very well take the Senate, which begin impeachment trials for Trump, Hegseth, Patel, hopefully RFK, freaking trying to steal our Dunkins. Dude talking about sugar and iced coffee, but had no problem sniffing coke off a fucking toilet seat. But that's another podcast for another day. Like I said, it is time to not give in, not become complacent, but to rebel against this arrogant, evil, divisive empire. Well, I'll get off my soapbox now. That's just me just being honest. Hope you all stay strong. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out.